I'd like to welcome you to our second breakfast meeting of this year of 2019. Thank you all for coming and making it this morning. As you will learn as we go and as I talk, I am not the MC. This is the first time I'm doing the MC, and probably judging by how it goes, it will be the last time I'm doing it. We'll see how that goes. But I do want to welcome you, and I do want to welcome our distinguished guest and keynote speaker, Ambassador Hugo Portugal. Thank you for coming. We will have our networking once we're done with the breakfast, and Mr. Manos, Dr. William Manos will lead us in our networking session. Before that, I wanted to ask Mr. Arash Hashemi, our attorney in-house, to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance, as we'd like to start our day with that. If you could, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. On that note, thank you so much. Elhamjan, if you could please introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so pleased to have the chance to introduce our great and distinguished guest today. Ambassador Hugo Portugal is a career diplomat. He entered the Peruvian Foreign Service on January 1980. He held several positions in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Peru. In 1986, he served as Secretary of the Permanent Mission of Peru to the United Nations and international organizations in Geneva and New York. He worked as Consul General of Peru in France and Switzerland. In 2001, he served as a Ministry and Deputy Chief of Mission at the Peruvian Embassy in Austria, and also permanent representative to the United Nations and international organizations in Vienna. Later in 2005, he served as Ministry and Consul General of Peru in Rome. And in 2014, the Ambassador of Peru to Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. I'm pleased. Please join me to welcoming Ambassador Hugo Portugal to speak to us today.
Good morning. Buenos días. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for this kind presentation of Elham. I would like to ask, if I may, how many of you have been to Peru? You raise your hand. Nobody. Wow. How many of you have read about Peru? Most of them. Well, I've read about you. This is my first time with you, but I've read about your chamber, and its origins go back to 1945. That's a lot of time, and congratulations for the job that your institution has done all these years, creating development, business, and thousands of jobs in the west side of the city and of the county. And this is, as Elham was saying, I've served with the Peruvian Foreign Service for nearly 40 years. This is my second time in the U.S. Years ago, I was a Peruvian delegate to the United Nations in New York, and so this is second time in the U.S., but first time in the West Coast, which I'm very glad to be here because it's in different senses different from the eastern side of the country. For those of you who don't know, maybe some of these the things I'm going to mention you haven't read in the books, but we have Peru is a country of 32 million people, and nearly 3 million people are out of the country, mainly in the U.S. In the U.S. there are nearly 2 million people, 2 million Peruvians, most of them on the East Coast, but here in Southern California we have nearly 100,000, and 40 to 50,000 in the northern part of California. And this is why we have some 20 or more consulates in the U.S., most of them career consulates, and spread all over the country, East Coast, West Coast, and in the middle. And most of the Peruvians are living, as I said, on the East Coast, mainly New York, New Jersey, and Florida. And this is why we have all these consulates in the country. We even, you may not know it, but we even have a major of yours that comes from Peru. The major of Long Beach, he's Peruvian. He came here when he was a child, Robert Garcia, and he's doing his second term as major of Beach, which is a very important city and port of LA. And with the U.S., Peru has worked together in a very positive and rich agenda. There is an excellent level of political understanding between the two administrations, change of high officials visits from different levels and sectors. As an example, President Bush was in Peru 2 times, one in March 2002 and a second time in November 2008. President Obama also visited Peru in 2016, and almost every Peruvian president has officially visited the U.S. during the past 2 decades. The last one was came to the U.S. in February 2017. These strong bilateral relations are based in the full implementation of the free trade agreement between the 2 countries, which is in effect since 2009. Also, both administrations have a common standpoint in the fight against drug trafficking, and additionally that the 2 administrations coincide in promoting democracy in the region. This is why Peru has been a leader in conforming a group of countries called the Group of Lima, that since 2016 has been has assumed a very strict position with regard to what's going on in Venezuela. Last week, when President Guaido, the interim president, took office, Peru was the first Latin American country in recognizing this government. I think it was only the same time as the U.S. did, and we just hold another meeting of the Group of Lima this last weekend in Canada. Canada is also a member of this group, which is integrated mainly by the Latin American countries, but also with Canada. So, coming to Peru, most of you have this brochure in the table. If you see the last page, there is a map. You can see that Peru has 5 neighboring countries, and to the west of the Pacific Ocean, we have a large coast from border to border, from the north to the south. There are like 3,000 miles of coast on the Pacific Ocean, and our neighboring countries are Ecuador, Colombia, Bolivia, Chile, and Brazil. With Brazil, we share some 3,000 miles of border, because Peru has a territory of 60% of jungle. This means that the country has 3 natural regions: the coast, the Andes, and the Amazon. And 60% of our territory is located in the Amazon. We even have a lot of natives and tribes in that part of the territory, which have some of them not even contacted. So LA and Lima are only 8 hours away by flight. We have every day we have like 6 flights. 3 of them are direct flights, and Lima and LA are located, as I said, on the Pacific Ocean. Peru is the 3rd largest country in South America and one of the 20 largest countries in the world. To give you an idea, Peru is larger than Spain and France combined. The country is very diverse. We have 11 ecological regions and 84 of the world's 120 different types of life zones. Our natural resources: gold, copper, silver, also blueberries, asparagus, and one famous superfood that it's trending for the last few years, which is quinoa. Quinoa is the food of our ancestors. Goes back even before the Incas. It's the quinoa was eaten by the pre-Columbian cultures. So we're talking about 7,000-8,000 years, like the Egyptian pharaohs. Then we have another iconic product is blueberries. Peru is one of, I think, the third or second or third world producer of blueberries, and number 1 in asparagus. Coffee, we have very good organic coffee, and the country is currently the first world producer of organic coffee, and other agricultural products. The principal economic activities are agriculture, fishing, mining, and manufacturing of goods, mainly textiles. With regard to mining, according to a report from the U.S. Department of State, Peru was the 2nd largest producer in 2017 of silver, copper, and zinc. and the sixth largest producer of tin and gold. The primary destinations of Peruvian copper production are China and Japan, and gold is exported to Switzerland, the United States, and Canada. Zinc and silver to China and South Korea. One of the main topics I would like to touch is the Peruvian culture. With more than 10,000 years of history, Peru has a great wealth of cultures and traditions. It has also delicious and acclaimed gastronomy and possesses imposing archaeological complexes, 12 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and vast natural reserves. It is undoubtedly one of the most varied countries in the world. It is the oldest civilization in South America. To give you an idea, neighboring countries have been created from ancient Peruvian territory and empire of the Incas. Thanks to the legacy of this ancient civilization, Peru is home to over 5,000 archaeological sites. Many of them are shrouded in mystery and are able to transport you to a time when these cultures flourished. For example, a visit to Machu Picchu, one of the seven wonders of the modern world, reveals the perfection of the Inca Empire. You can reach this spot on board luxury trains and travel through breathtaking mountain landscapes dotted with colorful Andean villages. Peru is also synonymous with nature and is one of the 10 countries with the broadest biodiversity and natural resources in the world. Some reasons for you to choose Peru are a country that looks to the future. Its economy has grown steadily for 20 years. It has a free trade agreements with the main economies of the world, like the US, China, and the EU. We are also members of APEC, the Asian Pacific Economic Council, and also the Pacific Alliance in Latin America, which is integrated by Mexico, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. The strategic location of Peru connects it to the main destinations in the world with direct domestic and international flights to Lima. We have heritage cities like the capital, Lima, Arequipa, and Cusco. And of course, world-famous cuisine. According to World Travel Awards, Peru is the best culinary destination in the world right now. I would like to stop here and listen to your questions, which I will answer with great pleasure. Thank you. Yes, as I mentioned, our main activities are mining, which represents 60% of our exports, also followed by agriculture and fishing. We have a lot of exchange with our main trade partners are China, the European Union, and the States, with which we exchange different agricultural and mining products. Some of them I mentioned, like silver, copper, zinc, gold. And on the agricultural side, we have blueberries, asparagus, avocados, and artichokes, quinoa, and other superfoods.
I guess I was looking more of like, do you provide any sort of incentives for foreign businesses to come to Peru to do more business?
Yes, well, I should say that the foreign investment is treated as a national. There is, we have a legal frame which gives same treatment to the domestic and to the foreign investment. There is no difference for the foreign investment. They have the same rights and the same conditions for this.
You've been to all those countries. How is that determined? Like, do you belong to a database of diplomat or let's say people that the government said, let's send this guy to Egypt, let's send this guy to India, let's send this guy to Colombia? How does that work?
Well, Peru is one of a few countries in Latin America that has a career foreign service. We have had this career service since the 60s, so nothing changes with the political administrations. Whatever the government is, the foreign service remains the same because we are career. We have to go after college. We have to go to the diplomatic academy in order to become members of the foreign service. There are no political appointees or appointments except for ambassadors, and even for ambassadors, the president of the republic is, according to the constitution, he is allowed to appoint only 20% of the ambassadors overseas, and most of them don't even cover this quota of 20%. So I would say currently 90 to 95% of our ambassadors and consul generals are career diplomats. We change governments or administrations every 5 years, and the ambassadors remain. It's the foreign ministry that determines when they have to rotate. It's not like happens in other countries that when the government changes, they call back their ambassadors and replace them by others. It doesn't happen this way in some countries like ours. No? With a this is the meaning of having a career foreign service. Yes, sir.
Curious about how Peru is doing on healthcare and some of the medical issues, the medical side, healthcare, hospitals.
Health?
Health.
Health. Okay. Well, we have. Thank you for the question. This allows me to talk about PAMS. PAMS is a Peruvian American Medical Society that has been working for more than 40 years in organizing humanitarian and health missions to Peru, with mainly with Peruvian medical doctors who are based in the U.S. and either they came to study here or they came to work, but there's an association that integrates most of them, and they organize several missions to the country several times a year. And these missions are integrated mostly by Peruvian doctors, but also some others from the U.S.
Have they gotten into medical tourism at all?
Yes, of course. I understand there is a lot of medical tourism from mainly from the U.S. to Peru, some of course from Peru to the US, but mainly from the US to Peru. And this allows me to inform you that one of our main partners in tourism is the US, which sends every year nearly 1 million tourists to Peru. Yes. And this is another point of talking about medical tourism. There's also gastronomic tourism trending in Peru because of our cuisine. I can tell you that mainly Canadian, American, and our bordering countries send every weekend hundreds of tourists to Peru just for the weekend to visit restaurants and have ceviche and quinoa and other superfoods like maybe you've heard about chia, maca, camu camu. All these products come from our millenary culture, Incas or pre-Incas. Some in LA there are some 70 to 80 Peruvian restaurants. Of course, not all of them are Peruvian, but there are several very good ones.
Do you have a favorite local restaurant here?
I have several, but just to mention two. One is Rosalind on Melrose Avenue, West Hollywood. Melrose, near the corner with Cienega.
Yeah.
That's Rosalind, excellent one. Another one, Los Balcones, also in Hollywood. I think it's Vine Street. There's another one, another Balcones in just opened in Glendale. So you have three of them. It's not Peru, Cienega and Malibu. Mr. Nobu used to live in Peru. He spent he's Japanese, but he spent some years in Peru. If you look at his menu, you will find some ceviche, quinoa, and other Peruvian recipes which he learned and brought from Peru.
And they all have A ratings.
Yeah.
They all have A ratings.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I brought some gifts for you. These are tablet cases with. Let me show you one thing.
Cool.
You can put here your tablet or anything else.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. As we're drawing to a close our breakfast meeting, I want to thank again everybody who came, and especially Mr. Ambassador. It is our tradition to close our meeting with a quote. I hope I will do justice in a quote from George Washington, where he says, "Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages, as is evident everywhere." So with that note, I want to make sure that you leave the breakfast and knowing that keep the spirit up, and we're here to do business, and we're here for referral. And I also want to remind of that van pool on Saturday morning. Bruce Bay or myself, please let me know. Thank you again for coming. See you next time.
Thank you.